Welcome to our presentation, When Writing Centers Are Multilingual. In just a minute, we will introduce ourselves, but first we'd like to get to know who is in our audience. So if we could go around and say your name, the college or university you're from, and your roles. Starting.
I'm Tess. I'm from Highline College in Upper Des Moines, and I work in the Writing Center as a consultant.
I'm Michelle. I am also from Highline College, and I am also a writing consultant in the Writing Center.
I'm Juliana. I'm also from Highline, and I'm also a writing consultant.
And I'm Sophia, and I'm also from Highline College, and I work at the Writing Center as a consultant.
I'm Gina from the University of Washington School of Social Work. I'm getting my graduate degree there, and I'm also the graduate writing consultant.
I'm Misa. I'm from Whatcom Community College up in Whatcom County, and I'm an ESLA tutor and writing tutor. In summer, I work at Eastern Washington University as part-time faculty, part-time staff, and I'm a responder at our Writer Center.
I'm Catherine Schmidt, and I'm the Writing Center Director at Western Oregon University, and I'm also a professor of English. And we have full-time staff, one who is fluent in Mandarin, and the other who is fluent in Spanish. And so I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
I'm Alex. I'm from Western Washington University, and I work at the Writing Center as a writing assistant.
My name is Bethany, and I'm also from Western, and I also work as a writing assistant.
My name is Ian. I'm also from Western. I'm a coordinator at our Writing Center and our ESL specialist.
I'm Roberta, and I'm also from
Western. All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce myself and give a little bit of context on our college and the Writing Center, and then the rest of the panelists will introduce themselves and we'll take it from there. So I'm Rosemary Adding. I'm the director of the Highline Writing Center. Highline is kind of going through a bit of an identity crisis because we've been a community college for 50 years, and we just started offering 4 BAs, so we just dropped the word community, and I can't quite figure out what that means yet myself. So. But we are a pretty large community college. We have about 10,000 students. We are the most racially and ethnically diverse campus in the state. 60% of our in-state students are students of color, actually over 60%. Also, almost 70% of our students are female, so we're heavily female in our campus as well. It's located just south of Seattle in a very economically challenged area, so that's part of our culture as well. And and there are at least 120 different languages spoken on campus as the first languages. And our center has served about that same number of first language students as well. So that's our campus, and then I mentioned our center. Our center is a peer consultant center, so everyone who works there is a student at Highline College, except myself. I'm faculty. As well, I direct the center with 1/3 of my load, and then I also teach English and women's studies as well. And the center is a center of 19 consultants, and we're open 51 hours a week. We have about 4 consultants per hour, so it's a pretty busy center. So my 1/3 leadership there is largely heavily balanced, in fact more than balanced, by the leadership of the consultants themselves. They really do a lot to run that center. So that's the context I'll provide.
And hello everyone, my name is Lena Baslachuk. My major is elementary education. I was born in Ukraine, so my first language is Ukrainian, but I also know Russian. My family immigrated to the United States 10 years ago. And I have been working at the Writing Center for almost 2 years now, and currently I'm the lead consultant.
Hi, my name is Natalia. My major is AS Chemistry. My first language is Russian, since I was born in Russia, but I also fluent in Ukrainian. I immigrated to America 7 years ago, and I'm also writing consultant in the Highline College, but also I am an associate lead at the Writing Center, and this is my 5th quarter at the Writing Center.
And my name is Anne. My major is communications. I'm really into the media. I'm a native Vietnamese speaker. I was born and raised in Vietnam for 17 years. And I've been in the United States for a year now, speaking both English and Vietnamese. I would say in that 1 year in Highline in the America, I've been working in a writing center for technically 3 quarters now. Besides being a consultant, I'm also a liaison, which make connections with other areas on the campus.
Hi, I'm Addison Peabody. I'm currently undecided in my major. I'm looking at architecture and writing as options at this moment. English is my first and only language. I was born in Tacoma, Washington, and lived here my whole life. I've been at the Writing Center at Highline since winter quarter of last year, and my current roles are chair of the promotion committee.
My name is Claudia Linares. My major is psychology. My first language is Spanish. I was born in California, but both of my parents are immigrants from El Salvador. And I'm a former writing consultant at Highline Community College, where I was associate lead. I was chair of the workshop and handout committee. And I also was a liaison, but now I transferred to the University of Washington, where I work at the Odegaard Writing Center.
So in a minute, we're going to show you a video of some clips of interviews that we've done. But I'm going to give you just a little more context, and so I'm going to, a little bit of the theoretical context. I'll just drop a few names and mention a few things there. And the video also, just to say, is about 14 minutes, so you can just kind of relax into it and kind of let it soak through you. So you heard the kind of brief bios of the different consultants. We have 19 consultants, as I said. 10 of them are non-native English speakers, 9 of them are native English speakers. I myself, I forgot to say, am a native English speaker. English is my first language. And we really value the idea of our center being half and half, as close to half and half as possible. We don't want it to be a so-called ESL center, and we don't want it to be a native speaking dominated center either. And we find that having that half and half mix really brings the kind of environment and conversation that we want to have that crosses language barriers. And the name dropping I'm going to do is, first one is the name everybody knows, and which is Kenneth Gruffy and his essay, Peer Tutoring and the Conversation of Mankind. Old essay, came out, I can't remember now, but 20, 30 years ago. With the whole idea of the importance of the peer conversation, and the idea that in every area of our professional lives, maybe even personal lives, there's a normal discourse. So teachers have a normal teacher discourse, and engineers have theirs, and you know, in any field you have ways that you talk to each other. In academics, students come into the academic conversation and have to, transition into that kind of discourse. And the Writing Center is a place with that peer conversation and peer tutoring and the conversation of mankind, that's an old term, is that the consultants themselves have been immersed in this academic conversation, and they can facilitate bringing the student writer into that, and that becomes a really powerful peer conversation, the normal discourse of student academic growth. So Kenneth Gruffy is a really big influence on how we think about our work. And then more currently, Min-Jon Liu's Living English, and her argument that English doesn't just belong to native English speakers. American English doesn't just belong to Americans. It is an international language. It's not only do we have incredible diversity within our country, but incredible diversity around the world, and that all those different ways of speaking the English language can and should influence each other and shape the future of our language. And we think our environment helps with that too. And then Suresh Kanajaraha, I always stumble over his name, his whole idea of shuttling between languages, and that for too long we've seen language learning as a one-way street from native speaker to non-native speaker, instead of that flow of learning going back and forth and influencing each other. So that's sort of just mentioning a few of the theorists that have influenced us. And I just wanted to draw your attention to the packet really quickly and just say that first, that orange page on the front is our mission statement. Actually needs more explicit wording about our multilingualism. We keep meaning to get that in there. It's implied, but anyway, that's our mission statement. On the other side, some of you who know us have seen this before. We've developed over time, and it's a living document and changes as we discuss it, our set of principles that we try to go by. On the third page, there's cultural self-reflection questions, because we realized at a certain point we were talking too much about them, whoever it was that the person was that we were trying to communicate with, whether it was a non-native to a native or a native to a non-native speaker, and that we needed to look more at ourselves and what were our cultural contexts and how did that influence that conversation. So that's a little exercise that we use and that you can use in your centers if you're interested. The next page is just talking tips when you are having a hard time understanding each other across languages, some ways to work through that. And I just noticed this morning on the bottom, the footer, it says developed by me with the help of those other people. It's supposed to say developed by the Highline Writing Center, because there were lots of consultants involved in that. I'm not sure how that happened. And then after that, there's a set of case studies that were collaboratively written by members of their Highline Writing Center on just different kinds of scenarios that have come up with working across languages. Then you see a works cited and referenced. This is a little bit fakey. It's not. It's a list of references that have definitely gone into influencing our work. It's not necessarily our citations from today. Okay, and there's other things that we have cited that aren't even on there. And then finally, this is our purple sheet that we use in our sessions as a sort of a tool to structure the session, and we send it away with the student. And it gets mentioned several times in the video, so we put it in our packet so you could see what they were talking about. Okay.
Nice. So being that Highline is so ethnically diverse, we decided to interview both native and non-native English-speaking consultants and consultees about their perspectives on how the dynamics of the session might change due to cultural differences and language differences. So what you're about to see is those interviews.